right. As promised, we're back. You're listening to America's Voice Now. You know, this stuff isn't limited, folks, to just isolated incidents. What we have to realize is that there is a national and international direction and focus that says America has to wither and die on the vine as an international strength and as a national strength and pillar of liberty and freedom in the world. You know, there was an article out on the Telegraph this morning. The sun is setting on the sun is setting on U.S. dollar supremacy, and with it, American power. Countries around the world are disgusted with the shenanigans on Capitol Hill, with the inability of these alleged representatives to act on their behalf, to stop the profligate spending that is bankrupting our nation. And they are aware of the patent and blatant decline. This article starts out with an interesting paragraph. I'll brief you with it, and then we'll move on. All great empires, from the Greek to the Roman, the Spanish, and the British, have at their heart a dominant means of exchange, which is very much part of their political and social hegemony. Once upon a time, it was Roman coinage which was the world's preeminent currency. In more recent times, it was the British pound. Today, it's the U.S. dollar, to which international investors flock as a safe haven for their money. Highly liquid and apparently reliable, until recently at least, nothing else comes even remotely close to the greenback's dominant position in the international monetary system. You know, the dollar is used as the reserve currency for the world. Unfortunately, what we're now seeing is that the BRICS nations, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and a host of other countries that are joining underneath the BRICS groups, are all looking to destabilize the dollar as the reserve currency for the world. And the simple truth is that what we're seeing is the international governments, but also in addition to that, the international companies who are, for all intents and purposes, fleeing from the United States and fleeing from the concept that the United States is a power, one to be reckoned with in terms of financial and economic issues, as well as militarily, as well as politically. We've seen all of this in literally, folks, the last 10 or 12 years. The last two presidents, from both sides of the aisle, I might add, have completely and utterly decimated the United States of America. In the international eyes of the world, on the international monetary global playing field, in jobs, manufacturing, industry, taxation, military might. We're the laughing stock of the planet. And we are also looked upon as a bully by virtually every nation. The revelations of NSA spying on foreign governments, who are our supposed allies, has all of them in an uproar. Germany is, the people in Germany, and look, I'm not going to be naive enough to think that Angela Merkel didn't know. She's the Chancellor of Germany. She didn't know that all this was going on. I don't buy it. I believe that she's got to put on a good show for the German people to pretend she didn't know. But if we're working this closely with England or the UK and Australia, you can bet your bottom dollar Germany was deeply involved in this, up to their lederhosen. The truth of the matter is those countries that were part of the inside circle, if you will, and spying on all the other countries who are, I mean, I get the concept of spying on your enemy, but, you know, we've been caught literally bugging the embassies of India, bugging and capturing all of the communications, including private email and telephone communications of international heads of state who are supposed to be our allies. And then we wonder why they're unhappy. I mean, if you said to your best friend, listen, you know, give me the password to your computer so I can take care of this, you know, virus you got there. And, you know, as your friend, he feels he can trust you and he goes ahead and gives you the password. And then you gain access to that machine without his knowledge, surreptitiously, and gain access to his financial information and to his medical records and his business information, and you use that information against him, would anyone question his desire to separate himself from you as a friend? Would anyone question his sense and feeling of betrayal? I can't imagine how. I mean, that would be no friend of mine. And yet here we are. American equities in the marketplace used to dominate the investing landscape. I mean, American equities were considered to be the cream of the crop. But right now, everyone's flocking away from U.S. equities and moving into European companies. They're a safer bet. Why? Because our society, our nation, is in turmoil. We're in turmoil in so many respects. Our finances, it's plain to anyone who can add 2 and 2 and doesn't need a calculator to accomplish that minuscule task, that we are overextended. It's clear to anyone that we are, for all intents and purposes, insolvent. All they've got to do is look at usdebtclock.org, and the answer is apparent. The amount of money that we owe so greatly exceeds our assets that no one would look at this balance sheet, if you will, and construe this as to be something that's escapable at some date in the future. It's not. $17 trillion in debt, $53,000 per citizen, $150,000 per taxpayer, not to mention the total liabilities that are associated with Social Security and Medicare and unfunded U.S. liabilities, prescription drugs, and now the Obamacare debacle and whatever else. Tax on another $1.1 million that every American is responsible for. So, for all intents and purposes, let it be known that every American, every taxpayer is responsible for for $1.25 million to get us whole. Now, I mean, if you do the math, folks, there's a lot of folks that work in the United States, the vast majority of which will never earn $1.5 million during their entire lifetime. And yet they are burdened with a debt equal to $1.25 million. It's not doable. You're responsible for a debt on a per taxpayer basis that is $1.25 million per citizen, or per taxpayer, I should say, right? Yet, amazingly enough, the assets per citizen are actually lower than the liabilities per citizen. The assets per taxpayer are only about $100,000 against $1.25 million debt. Folks, that's so upside down. I mean, walk into a bank with a balance sheet like that and try to borrow money. They'll usher you out. What we see and what we have right now is a nation which is in its death throes, now looking upon Americans themselves as food. The nation has begun to feast on itself. We've given away all of our industry. We've given away our competitive edges in manufacturing, production, technology, education. We've given away most of our best industries through projects like NAFTA and CAFTA, and now they're talking about the TPP and the TTIP to make matters even worse. And as the American population becomes increasingly aware of the dire situation we're in, the government is now beginning to turn its look back upon the citizenry itself to keep them from rising up. And therein lies the domestic NSA collection, the use of the IRS as a weapon of mass destruction against the population itself, the employment of Obamacare as a means to draw the resources away from the country so that they are not in a position where they can either prepare themselves or fight back. You can't fight or prepare without resources. The administration has passed executive orders that make you owning food and resources to take care of yourself and your family a crime. When Americans look back at this overall picture in its totality, I know that it's hard to see the forest when you're standing there and you're completely surrounded by trees. But I ask you to, if only in your mind's eye, rise on the wings of eagles and rise up to a level of 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 feet and look down below you and see the true nature of things. Look at where we are. Look at what lies beyond your immediate view when you were down on the forest floor. You see, from that high perspective, you can see what's around the corner. You can see what's on the other side of that meadow in the forest. You can see where the road leads. You don't have to be very observant. You just have to be willing to step outside the small view that you have now and look at all of the available information in its totality. I know there's plenty of people out there that are unwilling to do that. Not that they're incapable of it, but they don't want to. Because, quite honestly, it's depressing. It's hurtful. It's embarrassing that we've allowed it to come to this. And people don't want to take responsibility for their actions, nor do they want to take responsibility for correcting that which we all know to be so desperately wrong. 80% of America says we're going in the wrong direction. 80% of the country says we're headed in the wrong direction. That includes Democrats and Republicans and independents. That includes minorities and majorities. That includes the gays and the lesbians and the straights and the Christian right and the liberal left. That includes the legals and the immigrants. That includes everybody. All of these factions that we're told when we're looking at it from the ground view are in conflict. When we climb up to that view at 20,000 feet, we see they're really not that far apart. If 80% of us perceive that the nation is heading in the wrong direction, that's a pretty telling statistic. Now, yes, I'll grant you there are some who think we're probably headed in the wrong direction because we haven't gone far enough. But 80% of America agreeing that we're headed in the wrong direction should be a clarion call to all of us. It should be the one thing that all of us can rally around. And yet, we're fractured. We're frightened. We're fractured by our own selfish and petty desires to keep things as they are for me, but let's fix it for everybody else. You know, if you are the person who is outraged by what you see going on around you, but you don't want to rock the boat because that's going to affect you. It's going to affect whether or not you stay on disability or your unemployment gets extended for the umpteenth year. Or whether or not, that EBT card gets refilled. Or perhaps you're one who says, I don't want to rock the boat because, hey, I don't want to lose my job here. I don't want to rock the boat because I don't want to get on some kind of an enemies list. I mean, I don't want to rock the boat because, listen, I got it fairly good. But all of you, irrespective of whatever your personal excuse or reason is, are failing to see that at some point in time, whatever it is that you're holding on to goes away. You think you're safe and secure in your home or your job or, your financial situation. I got to tell you, I think you're deluding yourself. In fact, I know you're deluding yourself. I mean, the evidence is empirical, and it's everywhere. We can go quietly into that dark night with our eyes wide shut. And we can pray that our worst fear, that we are the prey, will not come true. But that's whistling past the graveyard. It's foolish. We can rise as a nation in a massive, peaceful, civil, disobedient fashion, maybe a group of clustered events that slowly build to a level of national attention. But that requires that you be willing to put your own personal safety, security, and fears on the line. I fear for America because I don't smell the commitment, the courage of conviction, the dedication, the loyalty, the honor, and the dignity and the integrity that's necessary for us to do that. There are numerous instances historically where one can look back and say, well, let's look at what happened in this situation for Russia or Germany or in China or in South America or even in Europe itself. Those results aren't vastly different than the one we will achieve. Except in one respect, the level of intensity. Because today, we have capabilities that far outstrip and exceed anything that those nations prior had the ability to use as a weapon against their own people. If you are unwilling to fight, when we can do so and win without bloodshed, without loss of everything, if you will not fight when our victory is sure and will not cost us everything, I know, and I know that you know, that there will come a time when all of us will have to fight with all of the odds against us. And peaceful winning and victory will be risky at best. God forgive us for letting it get to that point. And if we are still at that juncture unwilling to take the mantle, to grab the reins, to grab the bull by the horns, then there will be many of us who will continue the fight even when there is no hope of victory. Because it would be far better to not live at all than to live as someone else's slave. And at that point, there is no going back. I ask you to have a conversation with yourself. First and foremost, just with you. In a mirror, in the quiet time, in the dark, whatever it is, with no distractions. Leave your phone behind. Just get some time to yourself. And evaluate and think about our plight and our situation. Envision it from not the 6 foot above ground view that the world constantly is pressing upon you, but look at it from that 20 or 30,000 foot height. see it for what it is. And make a determination and a decision in your own life about what you're going to do about it. Then stick to your guns and stick to your convictions and live them. Have the courage of those convictions and do what you know to be the right thing. You've been listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans. I'm the host here. You can find us on the web at americasvoicenow.org. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/America's Voice Now. And you can find this and every other program that we do streamed live on our website, but then we post the video up on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. And you can get there by going to youtube.com/America's Voice Now. I'll be posting these shows up today on our website, on our Facebook, and on YouTube. I encourage you to look at them, listen to them, share them with someone else. If you find something valuable in one of the other segments, take action on it. Share it with someone else. Educate and inform yourself and those in your circle of influence. God bless you. See you tomorrow.